Welcome to the Walaway. This is Imran Nanlawala, and I'm here with a very special guest, Dr. Madiha Saeed. Is that a correct pronunciation?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Okay. We just basically had a podcast before the podcast, guys, and she's a very fascinating person. Just ran into her 3 or 4 days ago, and she is a medical doctor who has gone the holistic route. Is that correct?
Yep.
So first, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your training.
So I am a board-certified integrative holistic family physician, and I graduated residency in 2010 and was born and raised in Naperville, Illinois. So I had basically the same bad habits that have led 50% of adults down the road to chronic disease, and I was one of them. And I had, like, for example, I had lupus and Hashimoto's and digestive complaints and acne, seborrheic dermatitis, and it all came to a head in residency. My husband's also a family physician. So, both of us were working 80-hour work weeks. We had a new baby. You're not sleeping. You're not eating. You're just so stressed. So in that environment, everything came to a head. And I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Even going as a medical doctor, I went to doctor trying to figure out exactly what was going on. They're like, oh, you're just a new mom, which may be the case. But I knew that I was like trapped inside this body that had so much more to offer. And where I just felt like, yeah, I'm just stuck. So especially when there was one chronic illness, then another chronic illness, every time I went to the doctor, I'm like, what can I do to stop this? They're like, no, sorry, you're just going to have to live this lifestyle the way you were doing because there's nothing really you can do to stop this in its tracks. Because when you have one autoimmune condition, you're 3 times more likely to have another autoimmune condition.
Can you define real quick what is an autoimmune condition?
So an autoimmune condition is when your body is attacking itself, basically. And that's where it's inflammation of the body. And that's another thing that we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail.
Sure.
But I had tons of autoimmunities where my body didn't recognize friend versus foe, started attacking even the normal tissues. And they say when you have one, you have more, 3 times more likely the chance to have another one. So I was already at 2. So I'm like, I can't just, I don't even want to know what the statistics are with that. So, and that too, being just in my late, mid-20s. So, and with this new baby, I'm like, no, I got to take charge of my own health. So right after residency, I joined this medical practice where under one roof, there was me, an OBGYN, an internist, an exercise physiologist, nutritionist, counseling, chiropractor, massage therapy, acupuncture, all brought together for the complete healing of the whole person. So you have like board certified physicians, and then you have all these amazing practitioners really seeing eye to eye, trying to treat every aspect of the person, like mind, body, soul. And that's what's so amazing is that just by putting your body back into balance, so that's what all these practitioners were doing, just putting the body back into balance. And I really saw it in one of my first patients when I was there. So all these practitioners brought me up to speed of what conventional medicine had left behind. Started applying it to my patients. One of my first patients was a 31-year-old with 9 autoimmune diseases.
Wow.
She had myasthenia gravis, psoriasis, lichen planus, Sjogren's, Hashimoto's, digestive complaints, depression, anxiety, all of these, eczema, like all of these chronic conditions. And she worked at the Family Dollar store and the gas station, so it's not like she had a lot of money. But she wanted to take charge of her own health. And whenever she went to a conventional medical doctor, they said, sorry, you really can't do anything with it. You're just going to have to let it go its course. And myasthenia gravis is an autoimmune condition of the muscles. So your body sort of attacks it. And eventually, because it's an autoimmune disease of the muscle, it can kill you because our lungs, our heart, our respiratory, everything is a muscle. And so she was on the highest dose of Mestinon, and then they were going to put her on another Imuron medication, which then you have to monitor your eyes. And the side effects of all these medications was way too much for her to handle. She's like, every time I, again, similar situation to me, every time I turned, another chronic condition. So I need to take charge of my own health. So in 1 month, she had 50% resolution of symptoms. And in 7 months, she no longer had any of the diagnosis. She's a scuba diver instructor. So for somebody with an autoimmune condition of the muscles, you think they can be a scuba diver instructor? No. That's what everybody told her, sorry, you can't do your dream. So she's currently a scuba diver instructor last time I heard. She's doing awesome. We keep in touch regularly. And then another patient was a 21-year-old, and she tried to commit suicide 3 times because her eczema that she was literally just born with was starting, and like her body burned head to toe. And she would sit in the Epsom salt bath. That was the only way that she could get any relief, was by sitting in some sort of bath water, and for 8 hours a day. So she's like, what's the point of living? So she tried to kill herself 3 times. Living, can you imagine living your 20-some years in like where your body feels like it's on fire? And then so she went to doctor, to dermatologist. And in 1 week, just by your lifestyle, just by changing your lifestyle, addressing the underlying root cause, it was all gone.
So, for example, what are some things she did?
So we had to now, this is what we're going to talk about, because of the fact that it's amazing that just by putting her body back into balance, by addressing the root cause, because she came to me after 1 week, she says the burning was gone after 1 week. And she looked at me, she goes, why? She was crying. She goes, why did I have to suffer for 21 years? When the answer was just, it's something that I can control. So that's where my passion and drive came, because I'm like, if she's suffering, there's so many other people that are suffering. And as doctors, we know that all of these chronic conditions, either if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, autism, digestive complaints, IBS, constipation, bloating, gas, joint pain, we have skin issues like eczema, psoriasis, headaches, all of these conditions, cancer even, have one underlying root cause. And doctors know that. Doctors know that the underlying root cause, for example, if you have eczema, we give you an anti-inflammatory. If you have, allergies, we know we give you an anti-inflammatory, an antihistamine, that's an anti-inflammatory. If you have arthritis, we give you an anti-inflammatory. So all of these conditions, we know doctors are taught that the underlying root cause is due to inflammation. But we are not taught how to address the underlying root cause of inflammation. Besides, for all we are really taught is how to band-aid that inflammation, just to manage symptoms. So diving into that in a little bit more detail, I was then able to heal myself, so I no longer suffer from lupus and Hashimoto's and all the conditions that really took half of my life. And that was just by putting the body back into balance. So, and lowering the underlying inflammation. Because right now, conventional medicine it's like leaves on a tree, where each leaf is a different symptom. So we can give you a medication for depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, whatever it is, for insomnia, if you don't sleep. But if you address the underlying root cause of inflammation and lower that, you can heal not one symptom, but all of them simultaneously. So it's awesome. Awesome. So we can go into now what inflammation is. That's so exciting.
Before the inflammation, when you started getting the relief, how much changes did that make in your personal life? So yeah, your body felt better, but how about your mind? How about
everything? Because what happens is that you become clearer. You are there's a direct connection between our brain and what we eat and our lifestyle, and that's something that we can go ahead and talk about. But there is a direct connection between our external and internal environments to our decisions and how we feel and how we live our lives. So by focusing on keeping that inflammation as low as possible, and the control is in your hand. By controlling what God has put control in our hands for, we can actually lower inflammation and then make better decisions and be better for the society. Be better members of society. So
back to the inflammation.
Yes. So inflammation technically really means fire.
Okay.
And there's 2 types. So there's an acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is that good inflammation. It's when you cut yourself and the body tries to repair it. It's a sore throat, simple things like that. That's when you know your body is working well. Then there's chronic inflammation, also known as systemic inflammation or bad inflammation. And that gradually destroys this magnificent masterpiece that we were born with. And it's basically when it's that hidden, smoldering, painless fire that's created by your immune system, when it's constantly exposed to triggers like unhealthy food, stress, toxins, allergens, overgrowth of these bad bugs, even low-grade infections, all of this drives, all this chronic inflammation drives chronic disease and then obesity. And then over time, short time it's fine, it manages. But over time, especially when you are constantly being exposed to all of these triggers, that it releases something called cytokines. And these cytokines are molecules of your immune system, and they're important to figuring out infection versus foe. And when working fine, the fire remains contained.
Right.
The cytokines keep it under contain, But what happens is that when the responses go out of control, the cytokines go out of control. And then these cytokines start to kill everything in its pathway.
They can't differentiate.
They can't differentiate it anymore. So when they can't differentiate it, then you have chronic disease of every stripe. And that is what, we need to now focus on, is really lowering the inflammation, lowering these internal triggers, so then we can give our body sort of a break. And so I talk to people about that deficits in your 4 S's: stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health.
Okay.
And your digestive health and detoxification. Deficits in any of those can lead to inflammation that can cause your chronic symptoms. So we can go through those in a little bit more detail. So let's start off with, I start every single solitary one of my patients off with spirituality.
Okay.
The power of spirituality. And there's a difference between obviously spiritual health and religious.
Sure.
The religion is like a code of ethics, whereas spirituality is really like healing the soul.
Okay.
And it can be done through any religion. It can be through, even if you're atheist, you can still be spiritual. And focusing on really your gratitude and meditation. Because our subconscious governs about 90% of our thoughts and actions. So the world around us may think, even though we know that we're supposed to be, be thankful, we look at all the things that we have, but it's our subconscious that is so negative that we then start to look at the world in a more of a negative lens, even though we might not want to. And especially when somebody's dealing with a chronic illness, every time you wake up, you're like, oh crap, I gotta go deal with this pain again. Even we just do it's like we wake up and we're in pain and you're like, crap. Already. And here you just started your day off with negativity.
Yeah.
And when you live, and they've done studies, and this is where it's so amazing that they've done studies where just by, if you live a life of frustration, it changes your heart rate variability where it's like all over the place. And if you change to a world of appreciation, it turns to a nice sine wave where your body then is able to function better. Plus, you improve your immune system. They've done studies where it can lower heart failure because it improves immune system and lowers inflammatory markers just by being grateful. So these simple things that we can do to incorporate in our daily basis, it's just like getting off on the right side of the bed. So the rest of the day, you make better decisions. So I have all my patients immediately when they wake up in the morning say 10 things that they're thankful for. And it's so powerful. Just that in and of itself is so powerful that people tell me that if they don't do that the rest of their day, they make worse decisions.
So I roll out of bed.
Yeah.
And I just say 10 things that I'm happy about.
So when you wake up, right, you open your eyes, you're not even out of bed yet. You don't got to roll out yet.
Sure.
You can just say 10 things that you're thankful for.
Okay.
And if thank you for my eyes, my ears, my nose, my throat, my roof over your head, my shoes. It can be these simple things. And for somebody really suffering from depression, anxiety, I have them even put sticky notes all over their house. And where, all over their house, they have these little sticky notes. But then now you're creating this subliminal zone of positivity where now your subconscious has nothing to do but be positive. I come from a family of doctors. My sister's a pediatric ICU physician. My brother's an interventional cardiologist. I have all these doctors, Harvard psychiatry. So they have now started using this with all their patients, just the power of gratitude. And they themselves, they're like, oh my gosh, that works so much wonders. And I'm like, I know. And it's cheap, easy, fast, cost-effective, and then you become so much more productive throughout the day.
I mean, you see it. It's becoming more popular now. Guided meditation,
Yes.
mindfulness,
Love it.
and they work.
They work.
One,
They work.
One thing that I've noticed over the years, and I dealt with my own struggle of, I guess, food intolerances and inflammation and pain, and for multiple years, the mainstream not accepting it or misdiagnosing it, and then even from your social circle, right? People don't generally believe. People think you're faking.
People think you're faking
And
it,
that was something common, right?
Yeah.
You know, your back pain, you're just faking it.
You're faking it. Or it's all in your head.
It's all in your head, which when you're sick, you hate to hear that, right?
Oh my gosh. I know. I'm like, no, it's not in my head. I know there's something wrong with me.
I finally took the advice of one of my good friends and removed a few things from my diet.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized right away is that after about 3 weeks, I started physically feeling better.
It just takes weeks.
And then when I physically started feeling better,
then you're
I had clarity of mind.
Absolutely.
Thought process was more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
I was less emotional, like, you know, less bouts of anger or frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that mind, body, and heart, you know, we hear that cliche all the time.
Yeah,
but they really go together.
They really, really.
Yeah.
It is, and it's you can't have one without the other. There's no way, even though we tried in medicine to really compartmentalize things, you can't have one without the other. And that is what's really important. So we start off with gratitude, then and gratitude and meditation, because all of that will help to balance you spiritually. Then we have is your social health. So the people around you can either lift you up or drag you down. And they've done studies where love truly heals. Like, just it releases oxytocin and it lowers inflammatory markers. And it turns, even that can turn genes on and off, just like spirituality can turn genes on and off. And this is where I really want to also reiterate about the point of these genes, that we have control over our genes. There's a study called epigenetics, where the genes may load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. So this is where optimizing your spiritual health, optimizing your social health, making sure you keep people around you that will lift you up, not drag you down. And further, keep yourself away from those people that are negative influences, can all help to heal you. So love truly does heal. Then we have is your sleep. And sleep, while we sleep, we're not using much energy. So when we're not using much energy, then it leaves time for our body to do all of these other amazing detoxifying things, which are, detoxifying and making hormones and lowering inflammatory markers. So all of these amazing things that it can do, and just by sleeping. So focusing on sleep is another key piece of that puzzle. Then we have stress. Stress causes 80% of the complaints that come to primary care physicians. It's crazy. 80% of the complaints that come to primary care physicians due to stress. And just by incorporating a daily mind-body technique into your daily routine, either meditation, abdominal breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery. There's a list goes on and on about all of the benefits that could come from just incorporating these pieces into your daily life. And it improves cortisol, it turns your genes. Like, stress actually even messes your gut bacteria. Like, we're going to talk about that, but it creates havoc in our bodies. Stress does. So therefore, just keeping and adding a stress management technique into your daily routine can help keep those damaging hormones at bay.
So you've had different patients, and when you have a patient that is highly inflamed, or they're well into the journey of having an autoimmune disorder, what is the first thing that you do with them? Because sometimes I feel that people become overwhelmed, and when you hit them with the truth, which is remove this from your diet, start exercising, start thinking positively, it's a lot for them.
So this is where we're going to talk about the diet stuff next. But even when they get to this stage and they feel they're overwhelmed,
sure,
gratitude is the key.
Okay.
Because once you focus on all the things that are going positive and the things that can go right, because they start getting scared when they start focusing on all of the ways that they can fail. So just by gratitude, that gratitude then can lead to you successes for the rest of it. Then we have digestive health and detoxification.
And why is that so important? Because digestive health and the intestines, the stomach have basically come to the forefront.
So much, yes. Like, the studies now are overwhelming about the importance of what we put in our mouths and how it affects our bodies and our thoughts and actions. We have 100 trillion bacteria that line our gut lining, and our gut has about 100 trillion bacteria. We are 70 to 80% of our immune system lies in the gut. 70 to 80. So when you have an immune issue, which when we have inflammation in our bodies, that is the house of your immune system. We got to put the fire out in the house of the immune system for all of the rest of it to improve. And the way that we're going to do that is we have the symbiotic relationship of these bacteria in your gut is key for your better health and wellness, because these bacteria are responsible for making neurotransmitters. They make about 90% of your serotonin and 50% of your dopamine. They have they are responsible for digestion, metabolism. They're responsible for gene expression. Like they can turn genes on and off just by your environment and what we put in our bodies. And so it's really important to keep these gut bacteria as happy and healthy as possible. But what happens is when we are bombarding our bodies with impurities, for example, if we are like there's toxins or toxic foods or artificial foods, like all the stress, chronic stress can lead to this problem. When we are constantly bombarding our bodies with all of these negativities and our toxins, it actually kills these good bugs and gets replaced by these bad bugs. When it gets replaced by these bad bugs, it goes and gets replaced by bad bugs, which then don't do their job well. It lets things through that should not be getting through. 70 to 80% of the immune system is like, hey, you shouldn't be here, so I'm going to go attack it. And that leaves immune complexes to go all over the body. And if those immune complexes go to your brain, it can cause schizophrenia, bipolar, autism, headaches. If it goes to your thyroid, it can cause hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. If it goes to your gut, it can cause digestive complaints. If it goes to your joints, it can cause joint pain. If it goes to your skin, it can cause skin inflammation, which is psoriasis, rosacea, acne, eczema. So all of these conditions are all related back to your gut. And you can start seeing these, and this is what's so amazing, is that you can start seeing these effects of your gut, weakening of the gut bacteria at very early on in age. We can start seeing it with chronic infection, a colicky baby, chronic ear infections, sinus issues, allergies, asthma. All of these are related to bloating. All of these are related to gut abnormalities. And right now, that means that you have a fire going on in your gut. This inflammation is raging. And so what we need to do is we need to put the fire out in the gut. And the way that we have to do that is first you have to remove the stuff that acts like gasoline.
Sure.
And in my practice, because I'm the doctor of last resort, I have to get out all grains, all dairy, all sugar, all processed foods, all of these things, depending on what you're really dealing with. But why? Because of the fact that why grains? I know I probably scared half of your audience. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. What are you talking about? What are you going to eat if you can't have grains and dairy and
sugar? That's literally what I just wrote down. I said, so what are we eating?
What are you eating? What are you eating if you just took away all my fun food? And you're probably trying to be grabbing the ice cream bucket and trying to eat that. No, put that away. Put that away because I got hope for you. But the reason first why I remove those foods from anybody that is really suffering from inflammation is because the fact that the gluten used to be 14 chromosomes and now it's 40-some chromosomes. So it's been so genetically modified because people used to eat wheat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And so when we eat wheat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, guess what? Then we need to have an increase in,
of course, digestive health or digestive strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore, it messes everything up. So that's why it's been genetically modified. Our body doesn't recognize it as food anymore. So it causes problems. Then we have is the other reason, and then once you get to a stage where that gluten is already messing up your gut and your gut is inflamed, then it starts to even look at rice and corn and oats and very similarly because your gut is already confused and inflamed. So what I do is I save people the headache because once you really remove all your grains, all your dairy has also been processed so that pasteurized and homogenized to the fact that it doesn't separate easily. And it's supposed to, for our bodies to really tolerate dairy, it needs to separate. So because of the process and because of the hormones and there's so many other things that come into the fact that is that I remove it all from your diet. Plus, on top of that, these foods also raise a hormone called insulin. And insulin is responsible when that goes out of control, because these foods actually raise your insulin level a lot higher than raw foods do. And then when they raise your insulin levels higher, you can have a state, and over time, it starts to develop into a state called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, symptoms of insulin resistance is brain fog, irritability, weight gain around the midsection, sugar crashes, carb cravings, all of that leads to even prediabetes. So this is prediabetes that can lead to diabetes, because over time, what happens is that when your body, because the insulin level is always elevated, your body stops listening to the insulin, pancreas tries to push out more, it gets pooped out when it's not responding, when the cells are not responding, so therefore you're fatigued because it's not getting the glucose in that it needs for energy. Pancreas keeps on pushing, cells are not responding, pancreas keeps on pushing, you become a diabetic because it poops out eventually. So these foods will actually help to heal. The next things that we're going to talk about is what you're going to eat.
Okay.
Right?
So
because whenever
those.
we remove all those bad things that will mess up your gut, that will mess up your hormone levels, and there's really no nutrient density. Believe me, I have looked and tried, because I like to eat rice and bread like the next person. I have really tried my hardest to try to find any nutritional value in it, but I have yet failed to find any nutritional value in these things. So once we remove those things, then guess what? We add all of those foods that really have amazing nutritional value. Plus, on top of that, you get the added benefit of it heals your gut bacteria. It keeps the inflammation in your gut low, and it also balances out your hormone levels. You literally, the food that you're putting in your body, it's like hitting birds with one stone. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, because these simple foods, which are your vegetables, your protein, and your healthy fats. Because once I give my kids grains, I realize that they don't eat their vegetables. If we are eating grains, who's eating their vegetables? None of us. Yeah, you're full. Yeah. It fills you up. Plus, on top of that, so you want to make sure that you go down the list first. My kids they're so funny. They're like, Mama, we finished our vegetable, protein, healthy fats. Can we have a carbohydrate now as fruit? And I'm like, yeah, sure, yay. So your taste buds change. So they don't even crave all the other things. You're like, we're cravings. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to crave that kind of stuff. No, because once you really give your body exactly what it needs to heal, you stop craving these foods. Because this is another key piece that I do want to reiterate to your listeners, is that when you crave the white stuff, that means your gut bacteria is weak and inflamed, because those bad bacteria only crave those foods that will make it grow.
So the cravings are actually caused by the bacteria itself?
By the bacteria itself. So when you see these kids that crave sugar, right? It's because of the fact that they're like, either you have this, for example, you've seen with Candida.
Right.
When people have like a candidal overgrowth or whatever, they crave sugar. Why? Because of the fact that sugar will then just feed the candida, will then help it thrive.
Right.
These bugs are smart. These bugs literally are controlling you in every which way. So this is where, especially when it comes to kids and yourself, you really want to look into where is this craving coming from. And so once you start to give your good bugs the food that it needs to help to thrive, guess what? You stop craving the other foods, because now you have less bad bacteria that are craving those foods. So removing those bad foods, grains, dairy, sugar, processed foods, adding back in vegetables, protein, healthy fats, hydration is another key piece. Then repopulating the gut bacteria with prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics are food for the probiotics. Which probiotics are good bugs that you need to then re-inoculate your gut with. Then the next piece of the puzzle is to repair the gut lining. So we got to repair the damage, that we need to give the gut the nutrients that it needs to help repair itself. And that is simple, because I do that through bone broth. Having at least 1 cup of bone broth per day, getting some fish oil, some vitamin D, all of that will then help to repair the gut lining. And then rebalancing, just like what we talked about, the rest of it was your spirituality for gratitude and meditation, social health, optimizing your sleep, incorporating a stress body mind a relaxation technique into daily routine. And then now the gut health, optimizing gut and nutrition by eating vegetables, protein, and healthy fats.
It's funny you mentioned rebalancing, and something you mentioned earlier about mindfulness or starting the day off with 10 positive things. So I see a big connection because I see that different aspects of life are always connected, right? So when it comes to having good friends,
oh, it's huge.
And having positivity around you by waking up and saying 10 positive things or watching positive things or thinking positively. It's the same with food.
It's the same with food.
You have to put positive or good food into you.
You got to put good foods in. You got to put these pure foods. You got to put the things that will actually do well, you got to do exactly. You got to put those foods in that will really help you, not hurt you. Because food can either, and this is what we like to think, that it's not going to really mess up with our body. But there's really no black and white. It's just black and white. There's really no, it can either hurt you or help you. So every time you think of food as really like, can this bite turn my genes on and off? This is why I am mama bear with my kids. When it comes to their food and they're like getting anything artificial, I'm like, no, you are not changing my kids' epigenetics. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. But the thing is, and this is where educating them is key. My kids are 10, 7, 5, and 2. Everywhere they go and they're given all these lollipops with all these artificial or this bread, like tons of artificial foods or breads and all this other stuff. They're like, no, Mama, I don't want to mess up my gut bacteria. We talk to them as like, oh, these are friends in our bodies. And so we want to make sure that these friends in our bodies, you have to feed them good things, not bad things. So they literally think that they're taking care of these pets in their bodies. And you have to take care of the body because this is a huge blessing from, because not everybody gets a blessing of health. Then the last piece I really quickly talk about is the detoxification, because the toxins in, on, and around us affect our biology. And we think that now that's everywhere, so who cares? You see commercials of Clorox and making sure that antibacterial this and antibacterial that. Actually, that antibacterial stuff is all making us sicker. And when it's making us sicker, because when it's killing all the bacteria on the outside, guess what it's also doing on the inside? Killing the bacteria. It's killing the bacteria. So it actually leads to something called, the imbalance of bacteria that we call the dysbiosis. And it actually also leads to that, remember that leaking that I was talking about, where the things are getting through that should not be getting through? That's a state called leaky gut syndrome for the layman person, and increased intestinal permeability for the medical world. And the studies are all there, but it's so amazing that just by swapping out, and it's really cost effective, just by swapping out those things. For example, if you're going to use a soap, Dove runs out, you got to just change it for a more natural soap. And you can even just simple things. There's tons of websites. I don't have the time for that to make the stuff because I got a lot on my plate. But there's website you can even do it at home yourself to make the soaps and the lotions. And
we make our own.
Oh, see, you guys are amazing. I have to get there. Yeah. That is my next step in my life. But I do make my own cleaning. That's easy. It's like vinegar and water. But there's so many essential oils that help to clean, and there's so many amazing sources out there that can help you. But you want to make sure that you want to focus on whatever you have in, on, and around you should be as clean as possible, as should be as natural as possible. Even your dishwashing detergent, even your shampoos and lotions, and cleaning solutions, and laundry detergents, all as clean as possible, because all of that releases, if you just can go with the conventional, they all have hormone disruptors, and so keeping those hormone disruptors even at bay can really help you put your body back into balance. Just by following the digestive health and detoxification, the 4S's, stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health, just by putting your body back into balance, and even just by, in my clinic, what I do is I really focus on fixing deficiencies also. So I have all my patients get lab work done, where you can check for vitamin D and B12 and all of these other, it's really indicators that will really tell us exactly what your body's up to. And so when you're able to then put your body back into balance, fix the deficiencies after getting appropriate lab work done, oh my gosh, your body is capable of so much. And it's so, so, so amazing that just by doing that, then you become, look at all of what you guys have accomplished being less than 100%. We're all educated, look at all the things that we have accomplished being less than 100%. Now imagine the possibilities of feeling us very, very best.
So people shouldn't despair.
Yes, it is amazing. Look where you've accomplished. I got through residency feeling miserable, right? And now I'm like, oh my gosh, now I feel amazing. I don't even want to go back to that type of eating. I don't even want to go back to that lifestyle because I know that I get lazy, I get fatigued, and my brain fog starts. I'm like, no, I'm clear right now. I'm good. Let's go. Let's do this. Right? And so the sky is your limit. Actually, you could probably go into the universe. Literally, we can do so much with our lives and with our families' lives. Our health is in our hands.
So then take us home. Top 5 things we can implement starting right now.
Top 5 things are gratitude.
Okay.
Every morning when you wake up in the morning, say 10 things that you're thankful for, right? Go outside for a walk. That will help you for stress management, exercise, grounding, just really managing you the best you possibly can and taking care of rebalancing you. And then, sleep, making sure you're optimizing your sleep, keeping the people in and around you as clean as possible, in and around you as nice as possible, keeping people that are going to lift you up, not drag you down, and focus on your vegetables, protein, and healthy fats.
Okay.
Per meal. And then all of this you can find on my Facebook page. So my Facebook page is holisticmommd.com. That's my website. Facebook page is Holistic Mom MD. And my book, that I do have a book. It's called The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease. And that can be found on Amazon. And it is a #1 bestseller in 4 categories. Very blessed for that, especially for a new writer. And then you can also find that in the libraries all over the country. And then we have on my website, I actually have an amazing recipe because that's one thing that everybody asks me, okay, where are the recipes? Because if I'm going to start incorporating these things into my daily life, I need some tools now. And so I have an amazing recipe book, an ebook on my website, holisticmommd.com, that filled with 25 recipes is a free gift to you.
So we can find you online on social media.
I'm all over the place.
We got the free cookbook.
Yes.
Anything in the works that we should be looking forward to?
Oh my gosh. So I've already finished my children's book. It's called My Healing Day. That I just it's in the process of being launched in the next couple of months. And then I have courses and I speak all over the place. I do Facebook Lives on a weekly basis. So bring me all your questions. I'm really trying to be as approachable as possible because I know this is a confusing world. The doctors are telling you one thing, and when you go online, Dr. Google is telling you another thing. So obviously, I wouldn't believe both. I wouldn't put 100% your belief on Dr. Google and 100% your belief on the doctor because there's a lot of gray areas there. And specifically when it comes to your individual need, you really want to talk to a medical professional. I have studied best of both worlds. I'm a board-certified family physician, and I've dove for the last 9 years. I have been doing nothing also but holistic health. So I've noticed the good and bads of both sides. And so this is where my book, The Holistic RX, I've gone through about 500 sources to really bring to the reader all the easy, fast, cost-effective things that one can easily incorporate into their own daily life. I've split the book up into 2 sections. The first section is the foundations of good health, digestive health and chronic inflammation disease, digestive health and detoxification, the 4 S's, stress, sleep, social, and spiritual health. And then for 79 conditions, actually mostly like 80 or more conditions, I have gone through, okay, if you're dealing with constipation, these are the supplements, these are the homeopathics, these are the acupressure points, and these are the aromatherapies that you can do to adjunct your conventional care. Because remember, conventional care is amazing. I mean, the conventional modern medicine is amazing. It is great for acute care. It's great to first initially put out the fire when you have a chronic condition. But when it comes to long-term management of a chronic condition, this is where adjunct to your conventional care with holistic and lifestyle approaches will really help to optimize your health and healing.
Dr. Madiha, thank you so much. Can we have you back on the show?
Woo! Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So Walaway listeners, this is what the Walaway is all about, right? It's about physical health, environmental health, mental health, and your heart. All these things are tied together. So for you to feel 100% and for you to be optimized, you have to make sure you're eating right, you're sleeping on time, you're thinking positively, and then you'll be able to better contribute to society and be positive influences. So again, we thank Dr. Madiha for coming on because this is essentially what the Walaway is about. Stay tuned for more episodes, guys. Thank you, and see you next time.